So I got a story for you guys. I installed all the electrical, Victron multi-plus inverter charger, all the wiring, 1/0 gauge cables all the way through the system. I was getting a burning smell. This is what I found. It's melted, baby. Oh yeah. Yeah, that saw some heat. Check this out. Look at all that. I mean, it melted down. And you know what's crazy? That battery still works. It's Memorial Day, so nobody's open right now, but I'm gonna contact Battle Warren Batteries in the morning and see if there's something we can do. I don't know if I have to buy a new battery or what. I'm glad it didn't burn down my camper. That would have sucked. I think any other battery probably would have burned down my camper. And in this case, I'm still sitting pretty, man. Like, the other side of that connection is right here, and as you can see, it didn't get hot at all. There's no melting around there whatsoever. So yeah, I think that's best case scenario. It must be maintenance Monday. Woo! Let's get to work. So, we're here today to talk to you guys about Dragonfly Energy in Reno and the Battleborn batteries and the Victron inverter charger system that we installed in this camper.
What did we have before we switched to the lithium ion?
So when we first got this camper, it came with 2 Group 31 lead acid batteries. And at the time, we were just taking weekend trips. They worked okay. We weren't super heavy on our electrical usage. We ran the fridge off of propane, which we still do. Inevitably by like Sunday, they would be dead.
We basically
Sunday morning
charged our phones.
Yes.
And that was it.
And we were charging our phones off of the one 12-volt socket that it has by the door. We would share it throughout the day.
We have one little 100-watt solar panel on the roof.
Yep. And that didn't do much. I don't know if it's outdated or what, but it still doesn't do much. We would leave Friday night fully charged, and that gets annoying really quickly. So when it came time for us to move into this camper, I knew for a fact that was not going to work. And we were in agreement with that, especially because we had a plan on running a YouTube channel. We needed to be able to run laptops and charge camera batteries and charge our phones with more than one electrical socket.
And the generator was going to cut it. It's very loud, very stinky, and it goes through propane so quick.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to find propane sometimes.
There's no way that would have worked. I got to thinking, and I was like, all right, where would I put, what kind of inverter do I need? I started looking at the Ames inverters and different pure sine inverters. And I also got in contact with Ronnie down at Battleborn Batteries, and I started asking him for advice. He recommended that we go with the Victron inverter charger because they used to sell Ames inverters, and I guess they had a lot of issues with them. We got the MultiPlus 3000. It has Bluetooth capability, so we're able to monitor and control that MultiPlus from our phones. Once we figured out we wanted that MultiPlus 3000, that's a pretty big unit. I was scratching my head trying to figure out where I was going to put it, where I was going to put all the batteries. I didn't know how many batteries I was going to get. I knew I needed at least 2. I decided to put the inverter charger in the same cubby hole that the old batteries were in, and then I needed a place to put the new batteries. And long and behold, in between the rear bumper of the pickup and the rear bumper of the camper, there's an empty space there that's the perfect size to fit 6 of those 100 amp hour batteries. I talked to my buddy Greg down at Rock and Road Performance. So he's got a CNC machine, and he's really good at welding aluminum. I showed him what I wanted to do, and I was like, hey, if I design this, will you build it for me? And he said, yep. So I went to work drafting up a design for him, took a bunch of measurements, and then I brought the whole camper to him, and I left it with him for like a week. And he built this box with this beautiful door and everything, and it's perfectly weather sealed, and oh, what a difference that made. I was able to perfectly fit all 6 batteries in there. We got the locks in today. They work good. An interesting thing about the Victron Multi-Plus inverter charger is it has the Bluetooth app, and within the Bluetooth app there's a feature where you can actually change how many amperes it draws from the electrical source. When we're mooch docking at a friend's house, all they have is a 110 plug. Normally, if we were to just plug that in, the inverter would, or the charger would try to draw 30 amps from that 110 plug, and it would trip the breaker. Usually those breakers are either 15 amp or 20 amp breakers, but you don't know how many electronics are on that circuit. I was pleasantly surprised to find out when I downloaded the Bluetooth app that there is a way to limit the amount of draw Multi-Plus pulls from that electrical source. We've done when we're running our air conditioner and we're hooked up to a 15 amp circuit and we don't want to blow their breaker, is we actually drop it all the way down to 10 amps. Right now, we're at my buddy's office and we're plugged into his electrical system outside, and we're running our air conditioner off of it, and we're able to only draw 10 to 12 amps. And therefore, we're not tripping his breakers. We don't have to worry about all that stuff. And at the same time, we can do everything electronic-wise in here that we want to. And then basically throughout the day, the inverter charger will take the power, the 10 to 12 amps that we give it, which is not enough to run the air conditioner, and it'll assist with the batteries and the inverter to where you're getting half from the external source of power and half from the batteries, and then you've got plenty of power for your AC unit. And then at night, when the AC unit's not running quite as hard, it recharges those batteries. It continues to draw that 10 to 12 amps. And usually, when we wake up in the morning, the batteries are back to full charge. Mm-hmm. And so it'll deplete it a little bit throughout the day, and then, and we've had that. We've done that in 110 degree weather back home in Sacramento, and it worked phenomenally. Then we decided to pull the trigger on our 6 batteries. I went to Reno, picked up the batteries and the inverter charger, and brought it all down, and I have 0 electrical experience. I was very overwhelmed starting off with this project, but Ronnie down at Battleborn Batteries actually assured me that he would be there to help me through the process. I couldn't believe the amount of time that he took to ensure that I was doing things properly. He sent me lots of links. Hey, so today we're installing lithium-ion Battleborn batteries, 6 of them in the new battery box. What we're going to do is wire these batteries in parallel. So there's 2 different ways you can wire multiple batteries together. You can wire them in series or in parallel. When you wire your batteries in parallel, your voltage stays the same, but your capacity goes up. When you wire them in series, your capacity stays the same and your voltage goes up. So if you, for example, were working with a 12-volt system and you were wiring in 6-volt batteries, you would wire them in series to create 12 volts. And if you're wiring, in our case, 12-volt batteries in a 12-volt system, you wire them in parallel to increase your capacity. So to wire them in parallel, you go red to red to red, and you go black to black to black. So positive to positive to positive, and negative to negative to negative. If you were to go in series, you would go positive to negative and positive to negative, and that would then increase your voltage. So we're just going to go boom from there to there, and so on and so forth. So I got to measure these out. That's about 7 inches in between. Want to leave a little bit of room for it to
for the cable to go up and over this hump. So I'll probably do a 7-inch wire plus the size of the connectors should give us about 8 inches, maybe 9 inches total length. That's what's next.
I tried to take a shortcut. I didn't want to run a wire all the way over to the other side of the battery, and I just looked at the diagram that he gave me, and I was like, you know what? I don't see why it wouldn't work just as well if I put both of the leads on the first battery. And boy, was I wrong.
Don't do that, folks.
Here we have 8 foot of cable. This is 1/0 cable. Should be sufficient for our build. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 7 inches off. Alright, so we've cut our 7-inch section of wire out. Now we got to strip the insulation away. So, see how much we need here. Not that much. So then, slide your connector on there, just like so. And I got this handy little tool. This is my first time using this, but man, isn't that neat? Most crimpers are huge. This will fit in my toolbox nicely. I can take it with me in case we got to do any electrical repairs on the road. I'll have what I need. So let's see how this thing works. I guess you just hit it with a hammer. Yeah, that's pretty good. Not too shabby. That piece was, that tool was 20 bucks, I think. Great price. Take your heat shrink tubing. We don't need that much. We only need, probably that much. So, take our little handy cutter tool. And slip that over. And then it's time for my favorite part, fire. Take fire. Whoops. You just heat it up. I'm going to do this like a rotisserie chicken. There we go. Yeah, baby. All right. There you go. Off to the other end. And then you got to do that 24 more times. So, it's important to note when you're doing this that your connectors are angled the same direction. There you go. Do that 24 more times and you're done. Plus the wiring. Later.
One of the main reasons that we got so many batteries was actually because we wanted to be able to run our air conditioner from our batteries, because when we leave Trixie behind in the hot summer days, we needed something to do. We can't always plug in.
A lot of places that we go that are hot have noise ordinances where you can't run a generator, especially one as loud as ours. We have the Onan 2500 LP, and geez, that thing's loud. It sounds like a damn lawnmower.
We use it as little as possible because it is loud and annoying, and we don't want to interfere with noises in people's lives, and it's smelly. But on our 6 lithium batteries, we get roughly 4 hours on the air conditioner?
We haven't pushed it to the limit yet, so we don't know for sure.
But it's
but I'm willing to bet with the air conditioner cycling on and off that it would last most of the day.
And we never need it for most of the day. We're only gone a few hours if we leave Trixie behind. We don't use it if we're not in here. And it works perfectly. People are always asking us, what do we do with Trixie when it's hot and we can't take her places? Well, that's what we do.
Run that air conditioner.
We run the AC. We're not going to leave her in here. It gets way too hot.
The nice thing about the Battleborn batteries is they actually are the same size as a Group 31 battery. And they've got the battery management system actually built into the battery. And I heard a rumor that they recently started making batteries with a heater grid built into them. So one of the issues with lithium batteries is when they drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, they are unable to accept a charge. Otherwise, it would damage the system. So Battleborn batteries found a low draw heater grid and built them into the batteries, and it just automatically switches on, I guess.
So all my battery cables are now cut and crimped and ready for heat shrink. Here we go. All right, there you go. Easy enough.
Those 6 batteries last us for 4 days of regular usage.
4.5, yeah. And we use a lot. We charge a laptop, we have an external hard drive, we run a coffee maker, 2 cell phones, a tablet. We charge our vacuum, oodles of batteries for all of our toys.
Oh, yeah, we've got so many
batteries. It's ridiculous how many things we use on that, and it still lasts about 4.5 days of excessive use.
Which I would love for that to be longer, because that's our biggest limiting factor, that and water consumption.
Yeah, this weekend was kind of chaotic. I had a battery meltdown because I wired it wrong. So, interestingly enough, I was emailing with Ronnie at Battleborn Batteries at midnight till 1 o'clock in the morning. They took very good care of us, and I've got a diagram here of how I should have wired it up versus how I wired it up. So I'm going to show you guys what I did wrong and what I'm going to change. Here you see I have my 6 batteries. This is an overhead view. These are the positive terminals and the negative terminals. They're wired in parallel. And so we just connect the positive terminals all together and the negative terminals all together. I had my solar wires coming in from the charge controller down to the positive and negative on this side. And then the positive and negative on this side, we're going to, the positive went to a 250 amp fuse, and then a battery isolator switch, and then the multi-plus unit that we installed. That's my inverter. And then the negative terminal went to a shunt that goes to our battery monitor, and then went to a negative bus peg, and then to the multi-plus. And the multi-plus had an Ethernet that went to the battery voltage meter that goes on my Bluetooth dongle that connects to the secondary battery. The shunt has 2 sensor wires that connect to the positive terminal on the load battery, and that was my system. This negative terminal here melted down. It got extremely hot, the wire melted down, it was all bad. So it turns out the reason that melted down is because I was putting all the load on this battery, and it wasn't able to quite share it with all these so well. So what Ronnie told me is, instead of running it this way, keep the positive terminal connected to this guy, and then from the shunt, run my negative load wire over to the last battery. That way we're sharing the load equally across the entire playing field. And then the solar, I need to share that as well. So I need to run the solar over to the load / charge side of the shunt. That should solve my problem. Then I was kind of wondering, well, you know, here I got this melted down battery and it's clearly my fault because I didn't wire it up right. Long and behold, they're warranting it. Can you believe that? $1,000 battery. I melted it down they're going to replace it for free. I think that's pretty cool. The customer service there at Battleborn has been phenomenal.
Now, been on the road for 8 months with these batteries. Do you still love them as much as when you first put them in?
I love them more. Honestly, we wouldn't be able to do what we do with the level of convenience that we have without those batteries and the inverter.
They're definitely exceeding my expectations. I didn't think we could run so many things off of them.
Honestly, the way we live in here when we're off grid, it's like we're in our own home. We leave the lights on all day long. You know, I love having lights on, you know, so
I turned them off all day long.
Yeah, she switches them off after me and I get mad. I'm like, oh no, I like having them on. Being able to charge all of our batteries and have stable electricity for the hard drive when we've got it on, and all that is just phenomenal. You know, makes it so much easier. And this lifestyle can be very difficult. I mean, you know, you gotta, everything that you do takes more time. You need to be worried about finding a location to plug in. It just makes it that much easier, which is something that makes a big difference for us.
We just roll
it's a game changer.
To a spot at the night and close down. And
we hate running that generator. My goal is to delete it, but we need to upgrade our solar before we're ready to do that. Theoretically, when we get that done, you know, it should be able to run the air conditioner all day.
Go off grid for weeks at a time.
Yeah, the only limiting factor we'll have is our black tank and water.
I just want to give a shout out. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm no electrician, and I was able to do this on my own with their help and guidance. I couldn't have done it without them. I couldn't find any electricians with the time to do it. This project wouldn't be happening right now if it weren't for you guys going out of your way. All the emails, all the help, all the support. It's pretty cool. If anybody needs a lithium battery system, an inverter system for their RV, I highly, highly recommend Dragonfly Energy in Reno. They make the Battleborn batteries. They manufacture them right there. I've seen their facility. It's incredible. They're on point all the time in their communication. Everybody that I've talked to down there has been absolutely incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
All right, well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, don't take anything I said seriously because I don't know what I'm talking about. This is strictly for entertainment purposes. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. Have a great day. I'll see you later.